Yo, what's up? What's going on, everybody? That's right. It is the Boxing Source checking in, and this is the Midweek Report. That's right, the Midweek Report on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. We got a number of things here that we're going to try to get through in this one, but this is a special presentation of sorts as we are going to have the October edition of the Boxing Source Pound for Pound Top 10 here in this particular episode. And the thing about it is that we wanted to try to get through this particular top 10, I would say, as quickly as possible. And the reason being is because, I mean, if you really think about it, we don't necessarily have that many changes on the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10. um and the thing about it is that the way that we kind of like have this is, well, we're going to like kind of get things in a little bit of an updated format for who's on the top 10 and why they're on the top 10. And also we're going to add in like a couple of names that may be considered for the top 10 but are out of the top 10. So we're also going to kind of like go through that as well. All right, so let's just get right into this thing here, the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10. And we are going to start off with number 10. And at number 10 in this edition of the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10 is the undisputed lightweight champion Devin Haney. Yep, Devin Haney, undefeated, undisputed lightweight champion, just recently on October 15th had a fight against George Kambosos Jr. Was a rematch against George Kambosos Jr. And it was a more emphatic victory for Devin Haney in the rematch than in the first fight. And even in the first fight, you really didn't, have much doubt who the winner was at that particular fight. So you had Devin Haney to become the undisputed lightweight champion earlier this year, and then he went back over to Australia, did it again, beat George Kambosos Jr. even worse than the first time, and he stays as the undisputed lightweight champion. Now, thing about it is this, right? Um, and this was kind of like discussed at length over at the latest episode of the Boxing Source radio show. Devin Haney, who's currently at number 10 in the Boxing Source pound for pound rankings. We saw Devin Haney looking like Michael Jackson and Thriller at the weigh-in before the fight against Kambosos. It's been so long that he's been there at lightweight. It's about time for him to move up. It's about time for him to move up. And I know that there's some discussion within, boxing circles or, boxing social media that, he should go ahead and fight Vasyl Lomachenko next. No, he don't. No, he don't. I know that Vasyl Lomachenko has a bout upcoming on October 29th, and that's against Jermaine Ortiz. That will be in New York City. But after that, Devin Haney really don't have to fight, Devin Haney. Devin Haney don't have to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Quick shout out to Brother Joseph Herring of War Week Radio Network that was on the last live podcast there, where we had this discussion in reference to Devin Haney and what he should be doing next. And like I said, and he also like kind of like dropped it there. Devin Haney should move up to 140 pounds and go ahead and face potentially Teofimo Lopez there at 140 pounds. Wouldn't have any issue with that, and he'll give up those belts at lightweight, and you can have Vasyl Lomachenko potentially fight for one of those vacant titles against another, fighter that is also in the pound for pound rankings. But right now, at number 10 in the Boxing Source pound for pound rankings, the undisputed lightweight champion Devin Haney. Shout out to Alan Toussaint here in the live conversation as well. So you had Devin Haney at number 10. At number 9, now at lightweight, the former WBO featherweight champion and the former WBC and WBO super featherweight champion Shakur Stevenson. Yeah, that's right. I said former because he didn't make weight in his last fight against Roberson Conceição. Still ended up getting a win. Still was a clear decision win. And he is now officially entered in the rankings at 135 pounds. If you go ahead and check out theboxingsource.net. That's right, theboxingsource.net. And if you check, you click on the thing for rankings and go down to lightweight, you will see that Shakur Stevenson has been entered into the lightweight rankings. Okay. So him, of course, he's one of the better skilled defensive fighters in the game. He is undefeated, and think about it is that I think the sky's still the limit for him in reference to the rest of his career. And like I was saying with Devin Haney does actually move up to 140 pounds. Those belts will pretty much be relinquished. And, given the situation, I know that, he had to give up those belts, WBC and WBO super featherweight titles. But with a little bit of negotiating and a little bit of, sweet talking here and there, you could probably see Shakur Stevenson fighting for one of those world titles at lightweight real soon. And I think that would happen, sometime within mid 2023. That's the thing about it. But yeah, I know as we go through a live conversation there, Joseph here on the Warwick Radio Network. Yeah, it is unusual that he has never competed at lightweight, and they usually don't rank you in the division there until after you've officially competed at that particular weight class. But like I was saying there, they do have him entered in the lightweight rankings. Number 4 in the WBC, this has just been updated. Number 4 in the WBC is Shakur Stevenson, and also number 5 in the IBF is Shakur Stevenson. He is placed in those rankings. I just recently, added that on the updated rankings for the WBC and the IBF on the Boxing Source website there. So you can check out those updated rankings for the WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO, there on the Boxing Source website. So that's the thing there with Mr. Shakur Stevenson. Now, at number 8, we have on the list is someone that has held a number of titles in a particular weight class, and we just recently got news that he will be finally facing an opponent in a rematch. And that's around 140 pounds. And that is the former undisputed champion at 140 pounds, Josh Taylor. Yes, he did, have his battle with Jack Catterall, earlier this year, where I pretty much felt like he got cooked in that first match. But they gave, Josh Taylor benefit of the doubt, and they gave him the decision to have him, remain as the undisputed champion at the time. But then he, was seeing here what was going to happen. Is he going to move up? Is he going to, stay or whatever it is? And, sometimes having the undisputed championship for a certain amount of time, you have to, go through that whole gambit of mandatory defenses. And, there's a lot of fighters out there. Also, you still have to deal with the business of the sport. Sometimes it could be, pretty difficult to make fights of that caliber there when you have 4, world title belts Yeah, it did look like in that particular bout against Jack Catterall that he did forget how to fight. But we'll see if he remembers how to fight in the rematch, and he feels very confident that he is going to take out Jack Catterall in the rematch. But I'm definitely, looking forward to that particular bout there at 140 pounds. Of course, we already have like some world champions at 140 pounds that got the couple of vacant belts, or at least one of the vacant belts there at 140. We're waiting on the IBF title fight to take place, as well. And we have the WBC title fight that's coming up as well. That's going to be a very, very, very good fight for the WBC junior welterweight or super lightweight title. We'll definitely see if Josh Taylor can make 140 pounds, and I hopefully for Jack Catterall's case, if he has something in the contract that says if this is contracted for 140 pounds, and if Josh Taylor don't make 140 pounds, then he gonna have to pay a hefty price on that if they want to go ahead and continue to have that bout take place. So there's that. Now, number 7 is a guy that we have talked about a couple of times, and is someone that is like viewed as one of the more popular fighters in the sport of boxing. I've been to a couple of his fights over the past few years, and they have been packed. They have been packed there. So his next fight is probably going to be one of the biggest fights in the sport of boxing. But he is who some people call Baby Tyson, Gervonta Tank Davis. That is who is there at number 7, Gervonta Tank Davis. He does have a regular or world title there at what was it, lightweight, whatever it is. He did have like a regular title at super lightweight, but it looks like he is slated for a big bout against Ryan Garcia. Now, I was thinking it would be January 7th. We had talked about that it could be January 7th, but we also, may have something where it could end up being another date a little bit earlier. I may contact one representative of TMT to see if that is the case, but we do have another date in mind that could be for the Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia bout, because that's what it's looking like it's going to be. I think all of the other intangibles have been worked out. The deal pretty much like this, the so-called split or whatever it is, has already, been discussed and agreed to. It's just the other intangibles that have to be worked out for that particular bout. But we'll see if it's either January 7th or a date earlier than that. So we'll see like how that turns out. Now, number 6 on the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10 list is the unified champion at super bantamweight, WBC and WBO super bantamweight champion, Cool Boy Steph Stephen Fulton, one of the more skilled fighters in the game out there. One fighter that has probably one of the better resumes as a top level fighter in the game. He's fought and defeated multiple unbeaten fighters over the course of his professional career. He, of course, had his big win over Brandon Figueroa, to unify those titles. I think that was, one of the better wins of the year, actually, and Stephen Fulton, with his 2 wins that he has, I think that he may be considered as one of the candidates for Fighter of the Year, for Boxing Source Fighter of the Year. But that would be something because he was last year's fighter of the year. So we'll see how that works out. Um, as far as like the thing revisiting here for number 7, Cavante Tank Davis. Tank versus Ryan will be held. I don't know. I'll have to see if I could get in contact with someone in reference to that. Unless if the guys over at the Rise podcast, with Senior Cobbs, Coach Squeeze, there it's also, they're in the camp for Gavante Tank Davis there in Baltimore. Of course, they're there with Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny. They pretty much have something almost every day. So maybe they have kind of like disclosed that to a certain extent. But we'll see. If not, then we'll see how that will work itself out. So as far as like those details, as far as like what weight class it would be or what weight limit it would be, I haven't necessarily gotten that quite yet, but we'll see how that will turn out. But yeah, like I said, revisiting number 7, Gavante Tank Davis, number 6, Cool Boy Stephen Fulton. At number 5, we have someone there that has been considered by multiple boxing analysts or columnists, journalists, or whatever it is, as one of the top pound for pound fighters. But here on the Boxing Source, sometimes we kind of like go through the "What have you done for me lately" type of bit. And even though he is probably one of the more skilled and one of the more dangerous fighters out in the sport of boxing, um, like his resume recently doesn't necessarily cut it in comparison to some guys that are higher on the list, or even some that are below the list. So number 5 on the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10 is Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Bud Crawford, they're at number 5. And I mean, we know that, hey, his last bout was on November 20th, 2021, against former two-time world champion at welterweight Sean Porter. He was able to score a stoppage victory over Sean Porter at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. And yeah, a lot of people were thinking that, hey, we probably could have had Terrence Crawford in the ring, this year, but that's not going to be the case. We still will be waiting on what happens with Terrence Crawford later on down the line. But one thing is this: don't think that whatever they say is a fight, that is not really going to happen unless something really 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 crazy happens. You know, because here we are, we're pretty much approaching one full year since Terrence Crawford's last fight, and we haven't heard from the sanctioning bodies yet. So y'all take that for what it is. But with that being said, he does have his wins, over Sean Porter, over Amir Khan, over Kell Brook, over Jeff Horn, or like Stephen A. Smith says, Joe Horn. They're in the welterweight division, also against Jose Benavidez Jr. So he does have like a pretty you know few notable names on the list, but given the time that he's faced those guys, kind of like affects where his position is on the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10. Now, number four on the list has a fight coming up, but it won't be until January 2023. And the thing about it is that at January 2023, he's going to make his defense of the undisputed Super Welterweight Championship. So they're number 4, Jermell Charlo, the undisputed Super Welterweight Champion, who has defeated all of the fighters that he beat for a world title by knockout or stoppage victory. He was able to, get a win. It was um, in the rematch against Tony Harrison, stopped Jason Rosario, and stopped Brian Carlos Castaño to become the undisputed super welterweight champion. He was able to stop Brian Carlos Castaño over in Carson, California, to become undisputed. And now he'll make, the defense of that undisputed championship against Tim Tszyu that is scheduled for January 28, 2023, it looks like. And, after that, maybe he'll go ahead and potentially face Sebastian Fundora next if he stays there at 154 pounds. And if he has that fight against Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora and beats both of them, and shoot, if he stops both of them, people will have to consider Jermell Charlo as one of the top 2 or 3 all-time fighters at 154 pounds. You would have to. He already has one of the best resumes out there at 154 pounds in at least recent memory. So, I mean, why not just consider him one of the best 154-pound fighters of all time? So that's something there to consider. Now, number three fighter there is a fighter that is looking to become undisputed. They might likely become undisputed. We have to see what happens here later this year. But he has, won titles on multiple weight classes. He has 3 of the 4 major titles in bantamweight, and is waiting for the WBO title at bantamweight, and that's Naoya Inoue. One of the, considered to be one of the more complete fighters in the game, one of the more powerful punchers in the game. And yeah, we know that he's there. He's been there at light flyweight, super flyweight, and bantamweight. But he has like really, took out a lot of fighters in those multiple weight classes. And like I said, he has an upcoming fight against Paul Butler, who's currently the WBO champion. But also the thing with Naoya Inoue is he has those wins like over Nonita Donaire, over what was it, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and we've seen what Emmanuel Rodriguez did on Saturday night. So Naoya Inoue, one of the more complete fighters out there in the game, is there at number 3 in the pound for pound list. Like I said, he has that upcoming bout against Paul Butler. If he does get through that fight and becomes undisputed champion, it's very likely that he does move up to super bantamweight, and he may end up fighting Stephen Fulton there at super bantamweight. And if that happens, that would be one of the better fights in the sport of boxing. And then number 2 in the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10 list is the unified welterweight champion, WBC, IBF, WBA champion Errol Spence Jr. Had that big win over Yordenis Ugas at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas in April. Has had his score big wins over Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia. Had that, like I said, had that stoppage victory over Yordenis Ugas. That was a very big win there for him. And I think he's one of the more bad fighters out there. Like, he is precise in what he does. He is very powerful in a lot of the shots that he throws. Him being a southpaw, like, really throws off a number of people or a number of his opponents. But I think that he is one of the most dangerous fighters out there in the game. You're not going to. It looks like people could try to see if they could be faster than him or whatever. He just stays consistent in what he does, and whatever he does, like he's not been thrown off his game. He's not been thrown off his game, and he rarely, kind of like changes things up. The only time I can really remember is probably against Sean Porter, where Sean Porter kind of like got the better of him in a good number of those rounds. That was a very close fight between those two, where I felt like the knockdown scored by Errol Spence Jr. over Sean Porter was the difference in that fight. But outside of that, um, Errol Spence has been really one of the better fighters in the sport of boxing. And so that leaves number one on the list, and that is the unified heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk. Of course, August 20th, he scored that win in the rematch against Anthony Joshua. Was it closer than the first fight? Yeah, I felt like it was closer than the first fight, but he was able to, withstand adversity in this particular bout. I think it was a little bit more adversity than in the first bout, where he ended up getting cut fairly seriously in the first bout. But he was really buzzed in the second fight. Anthony Joshua pretty much had a very good strategy in those first few rounds in the rematch. But Alexander Usyk was able to adjust, was able to adapt, and still come out there as the victor. He is waiting on what is going to be next here with the WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, who is going to be facing Derek Chisora. But after that, who knows? And I did discuss this in the podcast. I said, you know what? Since Tyson Fury wants to go ahead and have that fight in December against Derek Chisora, hey, Alexander Usyk could just say, you know what? Hey, if you don't want to go ahead and face me, then around this time when I told you that I wouldn't be ready until a certain time. All right, cool. When you get done with that fight against Derek Chisora, hey, look, I'm gonna be fighting somebody else. And that somebody else could possibly be Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder versus Alexander Usyk in Las Vegas next year. Around April or May next year. That would be a really big event. And that would kind of like, to me, that would be something where, okay, if Alexander Usyk goes ahead and faces Deontay Wilder, what is Tyson Fury going to do? Where is he going to go? Is he going to face one of those stablemates in Queensberry Promotions in a Daniel Dubois or a Joe Joyce? Or is he really going to be serious about potentially facing Anthony Joshua? Hey, I think that would kind of like force his hand. But back to the thing with Alexander Usyk, he was the undisputed cruiserweight champion. He is currently the unified heavyweight champion of the world. And, if he went ahead and fought Tyson Fury and defeated Tyson Fury and gave Tyson Fury his first loss and became a 2-division, 4-belt, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, that would be historic beyond, almost any proportions in recent memory in the sport of boxing. So there you go. That is number one, Alexander Usyk, the unified heavyweight champion of the world. So you just got the top 10 pound for pound list from the Boxing Source here for October 2022. And I mean, there it is. I know that there may have been a couple of fighters that some may consider that would be on the list, but we didn't add them on. Of course, some say, like a long time fighter that was on multiple pound for pound lists on other media outlets, Saul Canelo Alvarez or Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan. Yeah, we're not adding them on the list. For a couple of reasons. Number one, super middleweight run, kind of questionable to say the least. Number two, it kind of like bit a little bit more than he could chew facing Dimitri Bivol earlier this year. It was, a 7-5 unanimous decision win for Dimitri Bivol, if I'm not mistaken, but it was more so like a definitive 7-5 or 8-4 bout for Dimitri Bivol. It wasn't like something where Canelo Alvarez really could affect what Dimitri Bivol was doing in the ring. You know, so that's the thing about it. Big shout out to Juice on the live conversation there. Like I said, I mean, I'm just going through the boxing source pound for pound top 10, and why they're pretty much where they are. But back to Canelo Alvarez. Yes, he had his fight against Dimitri Bivol, lost to Dimitri Bivol, had his fight against Gennady Golovkin. And for those that may, follow, Twitter or whatever it is, or, who know me, follow me on Twitter. I said, man, like Canelo Alvarez should have been able to stop and defeat and end the career of Gennady Golovkin. But he didn't even do that. He didn't even do that. That was an underwhelming bout. An underwhelming bout against Gennady Golovkin. And so now we got to see what happens for Canelo Alvarez next year. And I am really thinking that he is leaning towards another fight against Dimitri Bivol, even though he probably could get the same amount of money or a little bit more facing someone else next year. But of course, Dimitri Bivol has his bout upcoming against Zurdo Gilberto Ramirez, where he makes the defense of that WBA light heavyweight championship in November, and that's going to be a very good bout. And we're going to see what happens after that particular bout. But Canelo Alvarez was really leaning towards having another fight with Dimitri Bivol next year. So there's that. Dimitri Bivol may have been considered by some to be part of a pound for pound list, but I'm not adding them on there. You had that one win against Canelo Alvarez, but outside of that, I didn't even have Dimitri Bivol over Artur Beterbiev, and Artur Beterbiev was number 10 in the last pound for pound rankings. Beterbiev is, of course, undefeated, stopped every fighter, unified, light heavyweight champion. He just hadn't really had a fight outside of the Joe Smith fight where he just beat the brakes off of Joe Smith Jr. Okay, so I mean that's why I pretty much have him a little bit outside the list this time. I have Devin Haney above him. They're at number 10. So there's that. And given what's happening in the live chat, Slide Tendencies pretty much laid it out there. Until they see Dimitri Bivol face Artur Beterbiev, he's not on the list. And that is the most, that is the fight that we have been waiting for at light heavyweight for at least almost 2 years now. And we still haven't gotten it. So we got to see what happens here with Dimitri Bivol against Zurdo Ramirez, and then next year, 2023, is really looking like it's going to be Dimitri Bivol versus Canelo Alvarez, when it really should be Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev for the undisputed light heavyweight championships. So yeah, I can't have Dimitri Bivol on the list. Okay. There's also one other fighter, I guess, that has been added on the list, but they've been added on the list by a certain group of people under a certain network. And that is Vasyl Lomachenko. No. Vasyl Lomachenko, okay, had his loss against Orlando Salido. Vasyl Lomachenko had his loss to Teofimo Lopez. Vasyl Lomachenko hasn't really had anything of much significance since his loss to Teofimo Lopez. And some could really kind of think about this. What is Vasyl Lomachenko's best win? Maybe against Gary Russell Jr. years ago, where that particular fight was a close fight, where that particular fight had a knockdown and wasn't scored. But outside of that, who are you gonna put in there? Maybe the thing there where he, won the belts at lightweight. You had Jorge Linares. Maybe you win against Jorge Linares. What else? What was the thing there against in the UK where he fought in the UK? I can't really count that. You know, Luke Campbell, where he fought Luke Campbell for the vacant WBC title at the time, while he was unified champion at the time, which I really can't figure out. Like, how are you able to fight for a vacant title when you're unified champion? But that's a whole nother story. Um, so I'm trying to figure out like what would be the best win on Lomachenko's resume, especially recently, because like I said, that fight against Gary Russell Jr. was a good while back. That fight against Guillermo Rigondeaux was a good number of years back, and it was Guillermo Rigondeaux that was coming up two divisions to face Vasyl Lomachenko. But to me, at lightweight, Lomachenko is, I don't know. But we'll see what happens here with Vasyl Lomachenko. He does, like I said, he has his fight upcoming against Jermaine Ortiz in New York City on October 29th. After that, we'll see what happens. Will he be going up against Devin Haney if Devin Haney stays at 135 pounds? Or if Devin Haney moves up to 140, we may see Vasyl Lomachenko fight for a vacant title, but we also may see Vasyl Lomachenko fight a guy that is on the Boxing Source pound for pound list at number 9, Shakur Stevenson. We will wait and see. So there is that as far as like those few fighters there that may be like, hey, why aren't they on the pound for pound list? Well, I explained, with Canelo Alvarez, with Dimitri Bivol, and with Vasyl Lomachenko, why they are not on the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10 list. Okay, so there's that. With that being said, there probably isn't that much else that I could pretty much explain on that. I thought about seeing if there was like any other news and notes or news tidbits to kind of drop there, but we might have to cut things a little bit short on that. Maybe we'll revisit it later on down the line or later this week. We do have something scheduled for Friday. We'll be seeing if I could secure a interview there with Haven Brady Jr. Once again, Haven Brady Jr. See if I'll have another interview with the young man. That'll be scheduled for Friday. So we'll see how that goes. We're also, working on a couple more interviews probably later on down the line. So be on the lookout for that. There may be a few things here and there that we're going to be talking about in the next live podcast scheduled for Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. But until then, we'll pretty much see what else is out there on the news cycles. But for now, you just had your Boxing Source pound for pound top 10 list. Thank y'all for joining in on the live, and I will catch y'all later. Peace out, y'all.